It all began on a cloudy night, on the tail end of a trip to Osaka. I got a bit too excited bar hopping, and the streets on the way back started to mix together until I found an unlikely park. And in that unlikely park, I found an even more unlikely girl. I'm sadly too much of a simpleton when it comes to fashion to do justice to describing what she was wearing. The best way I can explain it is that she looked like one of those overdressed girls I always see on social media. Which, I'll admit, isn't being very specific exactly. But instead of posing on a desolate street or dancing for a showed video, this one was playing on the swing. Back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. The chains of the swing creaked gently. Her small frame probably felt to the swing the same as that of a heavy boy. Really. Back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Her eyes were lost somewhere to the front and upwards, like she was measuring how high she could go by keeping an eye on the skyline of the buildings. Back and forth, 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 back and forth. She was mesmerizing to see. She had a very determined look to herself. It's like she wanted to swing hard enough that she'd loop over the whole apparatus. And I found myself quietly cheering for her to do so. Back and forth, 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 back and forth. Then she turned my way, and we made eye contact. Now, I had to justify my presence there, hoping to everything I didn't come off as a creep instead of just a mesmerized drunkard. I told her she looked like she was having fun, doing my best not to drag out too many words. She stopped after a couple of swings, and while she still sat down, said with a slight smile, "It keeps the worms away." Worms? Her voice was so sober that I took away some of the haze I was living in, and let her words shake me even harder as a result. I can't remember what I said afterwards. Probably some sort of nicety so I could leave. Keeps the worms away. That statement was disarming for some reason. The next day, I looked online for methods to keep worms under control, but to nobody's surprise, none of them involved swinging in a children's park. Maybe it's some sort of stomach parasite, brain parasite. That still wouldn't explain that, though. I got so caught up in the days of trying to figure out what she meant that next thing I knew I was in a different park at night. By chance, she was there again. Still dressed to the nines, but this time she was playing in one of those climbing mound things. We made eye contact almost immediately. This is bad. Not only do I look like a stalker now, but even if this was the first time, Lord knows her scourge is tempting fate with each trip of the installation. But she just returned to testing the different climbing methods on it. Completely unbothered by me. Tentatively, I sat down in one of the benches nearby. For a while, I just looked at her going up and down, up and down, up and down. Eventually, she decided to finally go to the top and sat there, looking at the starless city sky. I took a chance, and I tried asking her what the worms were. We're all worm food waiting to happen? They're inside all of us, you know. Then, when you die, they sprout forth. Sometimes they don't even have the decency to wait and just pour out as soon as they can. But fire keeps them away. They're as afraid as fire as anyone. The girl's voice was so clear, like the wind itself wanted those with ears to hear her clearly. So if fire keeps them away, does it mean that what she's doing is making a fire? No, I don't need to make a fire, thankfully, but I do have to feed it. Fire dies without fuel, you know? Even the smallest twigs are valuable. Sometimes you only find wet twigs, but if you leave them near a fire, they'll dry up. This all made sense. Every animal is scared of fire, so fire keeps the worms away, and also fire needs to be fueled. Wait, no, that makes no sense of its own, but why? Why worms? Why? I left the park with a vague comment, wishing the girl took care, and I left. The next day wasn't a good one. It was awful. The whole reason for the trip crumbled away. I felt miserable and decided to drink as if the alcohol would drown the anguish in my stomach. Stumbling all over the place, I decided in my stupor to stop by a park. It would be, oh, so funny if the Worms girl was here again today. So, after a cautious peep on my surroundings, I was shocked to actually see her. That said, it would be, oh, so funny if my phone had a notification with the apology I so rightfully deserve right now. No luck there either, huh? Whatever. What's the Worms girl doing today, though? She's, playing in the sand. Just like that? She looking for worms in the dirt now? I stood up and did my best to walk near the enclosure with the sandlot. I then thought about how weird her words were. Worms aren't born out of humans. Spontaneous generation doesn't exist. There are also maggots, not worms. Huh. What is she replying to? Did she read my mind? She looked at me confused, and that's when I realized that no, I was speaking out loud. Cursed alcohol, making me repeat the same mistake on the same day. The next words that came out of my mouth were a series of half-choked apologetic noises. I looked at her expecting disgust or anger or anything other than what I saw in her. Pity. Why, out of all the feelings in the human experience she could have shown on that small face, did she have to end up at pity? If you keep dousing your fire like that, the worms will get you. She approached me like she was examining a broken statue. Do you even have a fire? Warm coals aren't really good at lighting things, you know? That, look, she was looking down on me, despite being a whole head shorter than me. I hated it. It was the second time today I was treated like this. I was gonna say something, maybe things in fact, but I noticed her face shift a fraction. And she then pointed down. Down to what? Then I saw it. Her left foot, under the stocking, in the shoes, in a very discreet anklet. She had a prosthetic foot. It's harrowing, you know. You feel entitled to your own body from birth. My room is actually at my parents', which is actually the bank's, which is actually the government's. And my clothes are mine unless someone takes them away. Is my bicycle even mine? Even if I work to buy it? I don't know anymore. But surely my feet are mine, right? They might take away my room, my clothes, my bicycle, my 2 feet are mine to go whenever I want. The girl took a step back and rested beside me in the sand pit fence. I was in a bad place, physically and mentally. A dark place, dark and cold. I had a wound. It festered. I saw things pouring out of my bridge of my foot, squirming, and disgusting things. Fire killed them, but they kept coming back. After a while, my foot was basically dead. They had to cut it off. The girl turned her prosthetic foot left and right as she spoke. Worms didn't even have the decency to wait until I was dead and bloated. She turned to me. They tried to get me while I was still alive. He took my foot. The worms took my foot. What else could they take? What can I do? The girl was in front of me again. She wasn't smiling, but her stare was intense. I don't know what they'll come for next. My arms, my heart, my brain. They want my body, and I won't let them have it. More importantly, I know their weakness. And I know it, and they know I'm not afraid to harness it against them, even at my own risk. So I decided that my heart would be a white-hot furnace, and that my brain would be like the sun. I'd burn any of them that decided to take their chances on me while I'm still breathing. She put a couple of fingers gently in my chest. My heart was beating faster now. Every day I wake up, and the flames have grown weaker. And every day I head out and throw fuel into them. Because I feel the worms scurrying in the shadows, waiting until my soul is cold again. Never again, at my choice. Took a step back and started walking back into the sandpit. Maybe one day, flames will go out on their own. Maybe I won't find fuel. Maybe my flame will be swiftly snuffed by something I cannot control. But this body is mine. It's the only thing that I should be safe in knowing it's mine, and in mine alone. So, I won't go down without a fight. I will keep the fire burning and kill any worms that dare get close to me. And I would advise you to do the same. She didn't return to playing with the sand. My presence was so pitiful, it wasn't worth her attention any longer. I returned to Tokyo the next day. I couldn't stop thinking of the girl. Her odd behavior alongside her fashion sense, the dumb words that came out of my mouth, her look of deep pity, but more importantly, her words. When she spoke, I actually felt the heat of her flames in her words, and it was scary. Like a limb on the verge of frostbite being blasted with the heat of a furnace. The shock, the pain, and the daunting realization that you could now feel something that wasn't there. It hurt like a million needles, but it hurt. It could be felt. It could be moved. And now it's back to numbness. Now I know there's something numb. Now I know what I've been missing. What can I do? Do I have enough heat in my heart to start a fire? Could I even start a fire? Have I soaked all the fuel? Will the worms get me?